What's up, everybody? Welcome to another hopefully fantastic episode of the Surf and Sales podcast. I am Scott Leese, one of your two co hosts and co founder of the Surf and Sales Summit, here with my good friend and partner, Richard Harris. How's it going today, man?
Dude, I have great news. Seriously, very excited.
Hit
Scott,
us with the good news.
let me ask you, what's the most number of deals you've closed in a month recently?
Uh, ooh, let's call it five or six.
Is that recent or is that your best?
Re- no, recent, as in this
That's good.
year.
All right. I've closed three this month in the month of October, and
That's
it's been a
fantastic.
drought. Yeah, it's been a drought. So I'm pretty jazzed and excited about life today
Yeah,
because I just closed that
good.
third one today, and I might have a fourth one coming in
Well,
now. That's good.
I'm really happy for you. You know how many deals I've closed in October so far?
Yeah, this is where it's going. Zero. I know.
Zero. So you
Right.
stole my fucking mojo, Richard.
Right.
That's what's
Yeah.
happened.
Fucking
So
donut. You're
enjoy it,
fucking
and then
donut.
enjoy it and give it back to me. That's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay.
It's all right. It's kind of like you sell the donut of five or six in a month, and I just sell the donut whole because I only got three. So
uh, Man, we're brought to you by a number of different sponsors. We've got three of them today. The first one I'm going to talk about is Tech Sales Accelerator. Launch your six-figure tech sales career in 2024 and beyond without prior experience or a college degree. Check them out at techsalesaccelerator.com. We are also brought to you by our good friends at Orem. Dial up your revenue. Orem is the AI-powered live conversation platform to supercharge sales teams, build relationships, and drive more pipeline over the phone. Check them out at orem.com. And Richard,
yeah, we got our friends over at Get Peel, GETPEEL AI. It is an AI powered Peel is an AI powered platform that helps sales and marketing teams engage together, prospects and customers through personalized dynamic conversations. So please sure to check out all these sponsors. We appreciate it. And back to you in the studio, my friend.
yeah, we are on our 439th episode,
Yes.
I believe. That's a very
Yes.
specific number. And we are joined today by Patrick William Joyce, who is the founder of Modern Virtual and the head of global account and strategy at Level Up Leads. Welcome to the show, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I've been a longtime fan and I'm just happy to chat with you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support. Tell everybody a little bit about your current role and roles, so people have some context for who you are and what you do.
Yep. So the newest thing is Level Up Leads, the head of accounts and strategy there. We are an outsourced lead gen agency. We've got about 50 clients. My role there is I'm overseeing the four CSMs that we have, plus the entire SDR team, and we've got 25 SDRs with four team leads. So I've got a ton on my plate, but it's honestly like really exciting work. It's kind of a perfect fit for me because I've been in B2B SaaS since 2017 in various sales development, SDR leader types of roles. And then I did about 2 years where I was 100% freelance consulting, like contracting with a few different agencies. The biggest of which was Predictable Revenue. I got to work with Aaron Ross, did a bunch of cool work there. So just the combination of the agency experience and the SDR leadership is like it just, I don't know, makes it a lot of fun for me.
I want to ask you a question. I have two questions that I thought of while you were talking. The first one is, it feels a little bit unique to me for somebody to be managing account managers, basically, and also be in charge of the SDR function. Talk about that. How did that come to pass? And how do you strategically like organize your time and the strategy with that? They feel like two very different things to me. I haven't heard that very much. So I'm
I was
Yeah,
curious.
wondering the same thing. Totally.
Yeah.
I think in a typical SaaS company, like overseeing the customer success team and the SDR team probably wouldn't make any sense. But in the agency realm, I think that it does because I'm kind of the go-between from the CSMs that are dealing with the clients, like client facing, figuring out what they need, and the SDR team, which needs some management, right? So there's kind of a common thread between all the things that I'm looking at. Like I'm absorbing what's happening with each of the clients and then moving pieces around internally to make all that work on the SDR side. So for example, like if I need to move one rep from this account to that account, like they just need somebody to coordinate all of that, right? Like the CSMs can't oversee the SDRs because they have, 10, 15 clients each. And SDR management needs to have some type of visibility into what's happening with each of the accounts. And I think also just Level Up has grown really fast. I just started there literally last week.
Yeah.
Uh, our CEO, John Carson, he's been following me for a while. We've been kind of keeping up with each other over the last couple of years and had reached out a few months ago and was like, hey, I'm creating this role. Like, I need somebody like you to come in and fill it. And then I happened to be looking for work when that role opened up. So that's how it came to be. But I think just being a fast growing agency, like there's a couple people that are running the show, and as they continued to grow, needed to add somebody in to take some of the responsibility off of the plate for one of them, so that he could, Chris Lingenfelter is my partner there. Is basically was doing all of this plus new business, like plus sales for the company. So he can focus just on sales so we can continue to grow. And he's like, these are all the things that are on my plate. I think I had the same thought too. Like when he pitched
Yeah.
the job, I was like, man, that sounds like it's two people. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it probably is. We can afford one person right now, which is fantastic
Which
for
is
me.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
What
but
was
I
it?
think as we continue to grow, I think the idea is probably to add in another person there too.
Was it scary or exciting or what was the feeling in terms of going from working for yourself back into the W-2 role?
Yeah, scary and exciting. Exciting because it's a little bit more responsibility than any of the other W-2 roles that I had before. But I also think that I'm just primed for it. Like the experience that I have leading up to now, I think positions me really well to have a big impact at this company, which is super exciting. So yeah.
Cool. So I have a question. So when you came in, what was the role designed for you to oversee? It's almost like both ends of the funnel, right? Like the
Yep.
top and the bottom end. Was it already designed that way? And how did y'all come to that decision? Or was it something you got there and y'all came to that decision? Like, I'm just because like, to Scott's point, it's completely different than anything. And it was the first question I wanted to ask. But how did that idea even come up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just it was designed that like it was already like that when I got
It
here.
was okay.
And I think what it was is that, John and Chris are the two co-founders, and Chris was doing what I'm doing now, plus doing sales, and was like, I need somebody to take some of this off of my plate, somebody that
Got
has
it.
worked in agency before, that knows what they're looking at, that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I mean, he's just happy to offload, like 2/3 of the stuff that he
yeah.
was doing.
Yeah. I have a different question, right? Because we hear this all the time in different communities we're all a part of, right? You know, who's the best outsource agency for certain things, or does anybody know a good agency, et cetera? What are the things? Because I talk to people a lot about it, and if you choose the right one, it's a good one, it's a good fit. If you choose the wrong one, it's a horrible mistake. If someone is looking to hire this agency, right, this particular part or function,
Mhm.
what are the things they should pay attention to other than the fact that, hey, I think it'll be faster and cheaper if we do it outsourcing versus hiring them on our own? Like, what do they
Yeah.
need to know, right? Because I have a different opinion of that it's cheaper and faster, but you tell me, like, what do they need to know if they're considering this kind of a thing? Because I don't think anybody ever talks about it.
I don't think it's talked about enough. I think that agencies get a bad rap because, I
Well,
mean,
they're just like salespeople. Like we all get a bad rap.
it's like the answer that I'm giving is from the perspective of having worked in a or contracted with several different agencies, so I've seen it
Right.
done bunch of different ways. I think the common thread is that the businesses that do so the companies that come in and hire us to do this, like the ones that go well are the ones that have a really crisp idea of who their ideal customer is, what their value prop is, what the pain points are, and then they can give that information to us, and then we can go amplify their efforts. I think the ones that come in thinking this, this agency is going to solve this for me, like we don't have those things figured out, like they're going to figure it out for me, like it doesn't go well. And I think
I
it's,
agree.
in my experience, it's been like a 50-50 shot as to what, like every company that comes in, it's like a coin flip as to whether or not it's going to go well. And I think it's mostly based on those factors. Like,
Yeah.
for example, like the targeting, like if we're going back and forth with the client for weeks over how to build the lists and like who to go after, it is not going well. Like there's no way that that is going to be a successful endeavor. Like they're going to end up spending, 6 weeks trying to figure it out, and then 6 weeks being frustrated that they spent 3 months worth of fees and only got, a week and a half of productivity or whatever.
Right. Right. What so with the advent of everything that's changing in sales right now, right? How, how are y'all preparing for the, I guess, the potential reduction of a need for an SDR team for your, like if you were building an organization, I'm not even talking about the outsource side. Like let's say you started to build your own organization, you decided to build your team in-house, you already had your team in-house. What are the things people really need to pay attention to in order to really understand this top of the funnel execution? And then I'd love to have the same question for the back end of the funnel, because we talk about the top end of the funnel all the time, right? But stuff's going to change for the back end too. So I'm curious to your perspectives on both of those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go all the way back to the beginning of it with like predictable revenue, Salesforce.com, like where this whole like SDR AE model came from. I think there's a lot of misconceptions. Like Aaron sold a lot of books, and after like talking with him and like working on clients with him, I think a lot of people misinterpret what his original work was. Like if you think about it, Salesforce.com in the early 2000s was absolutely crushing it. They were like, I mean, cloud-based CRM, nobody had it, everybody needed it. It didn't take that much work. Like it wasn't that hard to call somebody and be like, "Hey, are you doing this yet?" Like you probably should be. Right? Like there was sellers would have their own spreadsheets, and if your top performer left the team, they took the spreadsheet with them, and then you didn't have any backline as to like who those customers were. Like everybody needed to solve that.
Yeah. Right
Then I
time,
think,
right place, right product.
yeah, but then now you have,
Scott, you're still working on a spreadsheet, right? If I remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
don't need anything else.
If you quit, if you quit, how are you going to prevent yourself from stealing your own spreadsheet?
More importantly, if I get hit by a bus today, who's going to take over?
Well, me. It's in the will. I'm on page 5 of your 4-page will. I know this already.
Yeah.
But then fast forward 20 years, right? And you've got these startups that take VC money and they're like, hey, I have this product and I don't know exactly how to sell it or who my customer is, but I'm going to hire an SDR team because that's the playbook. That's what we should do. And those businesses are definitely having a hard time with it. Like to go back to your original question, if I was to build something from the ground up, I would really focus on an inbound funnel first. Like get a shitload of customers as quickly as I could that were coming to me for it. And then I would use outbound to like go and start to penetrate the areas of the market where I thought that I had some potential, but hadn't really been discovered yet. So I'm like, the business isn't hinging on the success of the junior sales rep that you're hiring to make phone calls for you.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So flip it to the backside of the funnel, right? How is AI changing that? Does that mean you're going to need fewer CSMs because AI can support more now? Kind of like the theory of you need fewer SDRs because AI can do it for you.
I'm not very bullish on AI in sales. Like Level Up does well because we crush the phones. Like we're an Orem customer, we make a ton of dials. My team set averages 10 meetings a day. Like set over 50 meetings last week on the phone.
But you also have a big TAM. You've got a pretty big TAM.
Well,
right? That's a difference.
It's not just one TAM, it's all the, we've got 50 different clients. So it's, a
That's my
broad.
point.
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying.
Right.
Your total
Yeah,
addressable market is like the whole world compared to other people.
Right.
exactly. Exactly. But like we're having a lot of success there. Like to me, the AI stuff is really just kind of muddying the waters. Like you've got because it's really easy to set up a cold email agency because it doesn't take any money to run it. Like you can set it up yourself. You can automate the whole process with clay tables and whatnot and like quote unquote personalize the emails or whatever. And just like press play and have it go. Like you don't need headcount to do that. There's not as much overhead. But I think that also has made it so that like the inboxes are completely just, I mean,
Well,
like,
they have been for a long time.
yeah,
Yeah. They're not any better. Like, as I've been
it's
saying
not getting
lately.
any easier.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that AI is helping any of that. Like
But
that's
let's
not,
flip it to yeah. So, and I agree with you. Look, I say all the time now that, breaking through the noise isn't about a better crafted subject line in email. Breaking through the noise is just through the quantity of shit. I don't care how good your email is. If I've got 100 emails in my inbox, you could have the best subject line and I'm just going to delete it. Right.
yeah,
Like it,
anything that's
that,
not
that,
internal,
but
right? Like,
so what are
yeah.
you seeing, whether you're bullish on it or not? What moves are people doing on the back end of the funnel to help strategize and optimize a little bit on the CSM level? Can
Well,
AI even touch that yet, or not really? Because
yeah,
that's now the human to human interaction still.
the area where I've seen a lot of I don't know, push for or like where I think you're getting the most juice for the squeeze with AI
Mm-hmm.
is in the like data collection, like sourcing data. So for example, like I can come up with a list of companies relatively quickly with a sales navigator search. But then finding the right titles of those companies used to take a long time. Like it'd be like you have to go through one by one and figure out like who's the right title. And now you can have AI do it. You can just like put in a list of companies in Clay and say, go grab me, the VP of sales for each of these companies. It happens in like 5 seconds versus something that used to take a couple of hours. So like stuff like that, like literally just like automating the tasks that you could essentially like macro. Like if you could build a macro in Excel to do it, like that's what we should be using AI for. Like the thinking human part, I think is probably, I don't know, misguided in my opinion.
For now. For now.
For now,
Yeah.
till
Yeah.
Elon Musk gets a hold of it, right?
Well, he's gotten a hold of a lot, and he's still not impressed. Right. What was the joke I saw today? The joke was that you know, all these illegal immigrants are taking away jobs, especially the 6,000 people Elon Musk laid off at Twitter since he's admitted to coming into the country illegally as an illegal
my
immigrant.
yeah, and my brother was one of those people that
Yes, he was. Yes, he
got laid
was.
off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he's not too happy with
Yeah.
that guy. Not too happy with that guy. What's the best upsell strategy these days? This is a question that I'm getting asked a lot from people. They're like, okay, prospecting is so tough. We need to juice our revenue. It's got to come from current customers. But current customers are a little easier to get a hold of than, prospects, but they're not exactly just like picking up the phone all the time either. And their budgets are tight. Everybody's budget feels tight. Everybody feels a little bit like closed off and sort of shut down emotionally. Maybe it's because the election is like almost here and all this kind of stuff. Like you're going in, you're taking on this new role. You need to expand some of these accounts. What's your plan for that? What kind of guidance are you going to give the team to make that happen?
It was actually one of the questions they asked me in the interview because it's obviously like
Yeah.
something that every business is thinking about. Like, how do we get more out of what we already have? I am of the mindset that I don't think that scaling up your outbound efforts necessarily scales up your new bookings. Like the number of people that are buyers in a given market is fixed. Like it doesn't matter if you add 10 sales reps, that's not going to add more sales. You're just actually increasing competition amongst the reps that you already have. So like in the agency context, I think selling additional services like doing a good job with what they hired you for, but then having other stuff that you can offer them, like SEO or coming up with some kind of consulting product. Like it's something that we did a predictable revenue, where like if the client didn't seem like they had their stuff together, if they didn't have their ducks in a row, like we were selling them a product on top, like aside from the outsourced lead gen part that said like, let us come in there and help you figure this out. And there's like an assessment fee for that. So I think just like coming up with different lines of business is, I don't know, that's the answer I gave and they seem to like
Does
it.
did I'm curious. I mean, obviously it worked, that answer, because you got hired for the job, but I'm thinking to myself, like, is that really in your locus of control though? Because that's like an ask of product potentially
Mhm.
coming up. Give me other stuff to sell, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm really just skirting the question, right? Because I like uh how do I convince like
I
I
love
was
that
I was just
honesty. I
I
love the
was just
honesty there.
typing into Scott, like, is he answering the question? Like I was literally putting that in a note.
yeah.
No,
uh
it's not that it's not that it's a wrong answer. It is a correct answer, but the thing is, you don't 100% control the ability to execute on that.
yeah,
So
I
thinking
think
only
what I'm
about the
saying
things you
is
do control.
like the question is how do we sell people more outsourced SDRs? Well, you don't if they don't need it. Like I think that's my actual answer. Is like why force it, right? Because I mean it's not in anyone's best. We might get the 3 months of fees out of them, but then the backlash of that is like, we got them to pay extra money for an extra rep. We doubled the amount that we were charging them, but we didn't double the amount of return that they were getting on that. Like, that's not a good look for us. They're going to go around and say, yeah, man, these guys upsold me into this thing. And,
Yeah, that's
you know,
a super important point is being able to coach your team to have the discipline to say no to some, money, knowing all too well, like they don't need this. This is not going to be a good, thing for us long term. Going to cause challenges for us.
yeah, I think there's some discipline in the decision making from the CSM's part there. Like, is this going well enough for us to add another caller onto it? Like, does that make any sense for us to do? And sometimes it does. Sometimes it's like, man, we are crushing it. Like, we're talking to this many people and we're setting this many meetings. Like, let's see how far we can, find the boundary there. And then kind of like we have a concept of like we have a full service SDR and then we have a fractional. So like we could add in a fractional, see if we can get any more out of that, and then talk about doubling as we go. But I think just being careful about that and like being thoughtful about it actually does more for the client than if you were to just, be heavy-handed with your sales approach and sell them extra stuff that they didn't necessarily need.
So I want to shift topics a little bit on you, Patrick, and in fact, I'll let you choose the topic. This is choose your own adventure section of the podcast.
This is a brand new section of the podcast, by the way. I
Yeah,
don't think we've ever done this. You just made it up right now.
I just made it up right now,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
So talk. What do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about, because you're in a healthy way active on LinkedIn? I know you've gone through some career changes without getting in deep in the weeds. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about how to know when it's time to leave a company and the things you might have to do? Because I'm working on something myself about how do we get out of our own way in general, which career is part of them. Or do you want to just talk about like what fucking annoys you about LinkedIn? What do you want to cover? Choose your adventure.
I want to talk about both of those things.
Let's do
Where do
it.
you want to
Let's do
start?
it. Let's do it.
Let's just go down the list. I mean, the job hopping thing, like, I don't know. I have some like a different way that I've approached my sales career that I think not a lot of people think about. I think people put like the networking and kind of building out your network is kind of an afterthought. Like they're more focused on like which company do I join and move up the ranks there. And I went network first with my approach. So sales was my second career. Like I was a high school math teacher before I got into sales.
Wow.
Which is harder, selling or teaching teenagers how to do math?
Gotta be
Definitely
teenagers.
teaching. Not
Yeah, I
close.
was gonna say definitely teaching.
Not
Yeah.
close. I think,
Yeah.
but behind, if your job involves getting shot at or running into a burning building, if it's one of those, you get a pass. But other than that, teaching high school in America is the hardest job there is.
Oh,
I would agree.
awful.
100%.
Parenting teenagers
Kudos to
is
any
awful
teacher
enough.
or someone with a teacher in their family.
Like,
Thank you.
parenting teenagers is awful enough, but this man willingly put himself in a room with 20 to 40 teenagers every single day. Why would you do that?
Well, because I have a math degree, and I thought, I don't know, I thought I had
it's a rhetorical question. It's just like, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is. Yeah, it's a rhetorical.
Let's get back to but let's get back to the LinkedIn. Let's get back to the network thing.
Okay.
In your career thing.
So I also, while I was in college in the summers, I worked with my brother in the Teamsters union, and he was the shop steward. He's a truck driver. He got me the job, and like he had a huge network. He built his whole career on helping other people and like building connections for himself, so that he always had somebody that owed him a favor, basically. And I watched him do this, and I was like, okay, let me go and apply that in my career to the tech industry. And then that's how I approached every interaction that I had. And it's paid dividends for me. Like it's probably how I got this job, is by being network first. And not like, when I say networking, I'm not talking about like going to a conference and handing out your business card or like trading emails or whatever. I mean, like every time I interact with somebody, I'm like, how can I help this person? How can I help this person make money? Like, what can I do to add value to the relationship, so that when people look back at interacting with me, they're like, oh yeah, he's a great guy. And that is paid dividends. Like it's actually how I ended up moving from job to job. Like, quick example, started out as an SDR at a company called ZipWhip. And I did a pretty good job. I was like sticky to the top of the leaderboard right away, but I found like one account executive that I knew could convert the meetings that I was sending. And I talked to her about like, okay, how do I do this? And then figured out what the pain points of the particular business that I was selling to. Like I was in a vertical. So I figured that out, and then I made a bunch of appointments, and I filled her calendar, and she was like emailing me 3 months after I left saying like, man, I'm still closing deals that you set up for me. And there were other people watching that interaction. And then one of those people was like, hey, I know, like, went to a different company, was like, hey, I know this guy, Patrick, he's fantastic. Like we should hire him. I didn't even know the guy. He just like watched me do that. Like, so like, I think, approaching network building as like a first priority, has done really well for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. And I've been preaching that to people for a number of years now. So I'm always encouraged to hear other people thinking the same thing and putting it into practice.
Especially in sales, it's like a little bit more rare, because for the most part, people are looking out for themselves. They're like trying to close the most deals for themselves. There's not many people that are willing to help you out, or like, pass a deal or whatever, like they don't want to take any effort away from what their immediate objective is. But I think that's really short-sighted thinking.
Yeah, for sure. You have to have a long tail view of it. Like I get a million people asking me every single day, like, can I pick your brain for this, that, and the other? They don't want to pay me anything. And I actually take a lot of these calls, which
take more than I should. Fucking hate them.
Yeah, we both do.
But I'll still take them, everybody.
Yeah, but you think about it though, like you can't do all of them. It's unsustainable. But if you can give back a little bit, you help somebody out. You never know. Like somebody today who's an SDR, 5 years from now might be a VP. Or they might be a founder of their own company. They might remember the help that you've given them. They might come back to you and go to your event, buy a piece of content or asset of yours, or hire you, as for training or consulting or whatever. Like you just don't know what's going to happen. So, I always try to like sort of start and open as many of these kind of relationships as I can within reason, rather than just being an automatic no.
Well, I do that I agree with you on the SDR side. It's the people who are founders who want to ask me about the marketplace and my experience. And then I tell them, well, I charge for that. And it's like,
they're the worst.
like, you want me to help you become a millionaire?
Yeah,
right. You
exactly.
want me to help? I've literally
Yeah.
started saying this. I just want to make sure I understand. My advice is good to help you become a millionaire, billionaire in your perfect world when it's free. But if I charge you $100 an hour, you're going to tell me you're trying to stay scrappy. Go fuck yourself. Sorry, had to get on a rant there. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's like, I'm gonna have to go snip that and post it. So,
Yeah, I think you
anyway,
should. That's a good clip, actually.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what Scott wants me to
What
do.
I actually do want you to do that.
I
I
know.
think it would be
Yeah.
great. Tell us more about the stuff that you hate on LinkedIn. Let's spend a couple minutes just raging against
The machine.
raging against the machine of what we hate on there.
Could take a long time. I don't know if there's anything I like about that website, to be honest.
That's the title of the episode.
You like the ability to grow a network.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it's still the face to face. It's like, the person to person interaction you get out of, like, yeah, I've done some pretty cool things with LinkedIn, but the thing that I really, I think about like what frustrates me the most about it is everybody just like the theme of everyone's content is, let me tell you how to do this thing that doesn't necessarily apply to you. Like, people are telling you, like, this is how you write an email, this is how you do a cold call, versus this is how I send an email, this is how I do a cold call, right? Like, they're trying to take their own little slice of the world and then apply it broadly, because a question, they're trying to answer a question that everybody has, which is, how do I do this job better? And just, I don't know, coming off at like the guru mentality really is just like, I'm over it.
So it's in the framing of how they deliver advice. So rather than saying this is how you should write emails, it's like, this is how I've had success writing emails.
Yeah.
That context change is enough for you to go from like, I'm unfollowing this person to, okay, that's interesting.
I just roll my eyes. Like, if you spent 20 minutes scrolling through my LinkedIn feed, you would find at least 3 contradictions about what the right way to do a cold call is, what the right way to, how to word it.
Do you curate your feed? Are you adjusting constantly, like who you kind of follow and see content from?
I used to. I don't spend that much time doing it anymore, though. Like, I don't know. I spend the least amount of time that I can on there. I'll be completely honest. I use ChatGPT to help me write posts. I'll edit it down and then go and post it, and then try to not look at it for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I use Claude for that. But I will tell you, if you come look at my LinkedIn feed, all you see are fucking ads, right? Like, that's it. I just see these paid promotion shit that I'm
There's
like, good fucking God.
There's a lot of paid ads. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, Scott, we gotta go do our little promos and then turn it back over to Patrick to ask us a couple of questions. So I'll get us started. Check out getpeel.ai, getpeel.ai. Our friend Brandon over there. He's a big supporter of Surf and Sales. He doesn't know it yet, but I've told him he's going to come to next year's Surf and Sales as well. So we're looking forward. So if you want to come meet him, come for next year, because this year's sold out. So there's your FOMO. You can't come with us in 2 weeks. Sorry. Haha. You waited too long. But please check out getpeel.ai. They will help you engage with your prospects and customers in a more meaningful and deeply personal, and I even like to say spiritual way.
Check out Orem at orem.com. Orem is the all-in-one AI dialing platform for all-around better sales, with a suite of products for coaching, analytics, and much, much more. Check them out at orem.com. And techsalesaccelerator.com is another sponsor of ours. Tech Sales Accelerator has a collection of courses designed to deliver a blueprint for landing an entry-level sales role at a tech company you love. Check them out at techsalesaccelerator.com. All right, Patrick, this is the part of the show where we flip it over to you and say, how can we be helpful to you? Do you have a question or two that you want to ask us? You're on the clock.
Okay. I'm glad that you asked this because, this is something that somebody asked me recently while I was
locked and loaded, Richard. He's locked and loaded.
All right. I'm ready.
While I was in the job search, somebody asked me, a recruiter friend of mine was like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your ideal situation? Like, forget about 5-year plan, whatever. Like, what's the ultimate, like, pinnacle of you in your career? What do you want to do? And I said, I kid you not, I said this. I said, I want to be Scott Leese.
God damn it. Fuck. This is over. This is over.
I knew
Come
you
on,
were
Thank
man.
so,
you.
but I had to
Thanks,
say
everybody.
this
Fuck.
actually happened. So
Fuck. Fuck.
I can't wait for it. We have to absolutely get a clip of Richard's reaction, and that'll be
Scott, you just put me on mute. Scott, just mute me.
yeah.
Fucking
Oh,
shit.
I gotta mute Richard for a second here.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
my question is, how do I become Scott Leese?
Oh boy. Let me try to answer this as seriously as I guess I possibly
I can
can.
actually answer that question.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah, I'm
So
curious on the funny side of the answer too. So
I'll let
whatever.
Richard answer the funny side. I'll try to attempt to be serious. But first of all, I spent a long time in sales leadership roles, building and scaling sales teams, always going to very early kind of risky, if you will, opportunities. I wanted all of the kind of pressure and the kind of glory if I was to succeed. So I felt like I would learn faster, I could advance my career, quicker. It's kind of like drinking from a fire hose sort of mentality, right? Then I started building my brand up and building up the size of my network. Then I started creating some different assets and different streams of income. Like I wrote a couple books. I started surfing sales. I started doing some coaching, some consulting. I started doing some community kind of stuff. And then I waited until my side income was equal to my W-2 income. And at that point, after I had been a sales leader 6 times and spent 15, 16 years in a VP of sales role, basically, I said, you know what? I don't think there's that much left for me to learn in this role. I've sort of earned all that I can, and I've been through the ringer and been treated not awesome a few times. And that's my learned, earned, and burned kind of criteria. And my side income is matching this thing. I don't think I need the W-2 anymore. And so I decided to go all in, on my own. But I wasn't starting from scratch, right? I had a brand going for me, a big network going for me. I had community stuff. I had the podcast. I had the Surf and Sales event. I had consulting clients already going, right? And I tried throughout all of this, to be determined, I guess, if I've been successful or not, but I've tried to be myself the whole entire time. If you meet me, in person, I'm the same person, basically. And I've had a lot of people, tell me that, which I consider to be, a good compliment. And I've tried my best to respond to everybody that I can, respond quickly, be accessible, and just try to help, be as helpful as I can. And trusting that some of that stuff comes back around. That's the best I can answer from a very embarrassed, like professional kind of.
Yeah.
answer.
No, thank you for that answer. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
No.
Sure. So how choosy were you about the early stage companies that you were doing in the beginning of your career? Like how much thought did you give? Like, does this have legs, or
yeah,
you just
really
take
good.
it came to you?
Really good question. In the beginning, not choosy at all. I had no clue what I was doing. I got advice that was like, you should try to get into sales. For those who don't know, I spent the early part of my 20s very, very sick in the hospital, had a lot of surgeries. So I got started late in my career at 27 years old. And I had a friend suggest that I try out sales, and I go to a startup because you wouldn't have to have experience or an education in sales or business or anything like that. So I sort of just picked like the first early stage startup, that I could get an interview with. And I happened to get hired there. And then I left that place and went someplace where, I had the opportunity to basically be the VP of sales and like build something from scratch. So I was attracted to that. Then I left that place for another VP gig that would pay me a little bit more money. That ended up being a terrible decision because I didn't vet the company or the product. So the first 3 times was really like not much thinking, no strategy, dumb luck, and me just kind of through sheer force of will making some success happen. The last 3 times I wised up, thought a lot more about this, and coincidentally did really well in the last 3 times I was leading things. So yeah, I burned 5 or 6 years, just kind of doing stuff, not picking the best companies, not knowing how to vet. And then the last half of my career, I got really good at vetting. I got really intentional with it. And again, coincidentally, those ones, 2 9-figure exits and 1 unicorn, right?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, Richard, I know you've been biting your tongue over there. Go ahead. Give Patrick your humorous answer. This is the worst moment of 5 years of podcasting history for Richard. This is his least favorite moment.
No, I'm sorry. What did you say? I just woke up from a nap. Did you say anything important? So this is why Scott keeps me around. All right. So how do you become Scott Leese? And the funny thing is, I'm going to say all this, and Scott's going to go, "Yeah, that's probably true."
Oh boy.
So the first thing is you have to hate everything. You hate everything except his family, his dogs, money, and tequila.
Pretty close. Right? You left out sports, but sports. Other than that, it's pretty close.
Right.
Pretty close.
Now the real side of that is Scott's able to actually compartmentalize and focus on the things that truly matter to him, because he knows the things he really loves about. When that's different than the things he cares about, that's different than the things he'll tolerate, that's different than the things he'll put up with, and that's different of the things he will just say, fuck off, everybody. That's one way, right? So does that sound funny but real, Scott?
That's actually very well articulated.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing you have to do to become Scott Leese is to steal Richard Harris's advice and double down on it. So much shit. And he knows this. I give him so many fucking ideas, or I do things, and then he goes, that's a good idea. I'm going to 10X it. And then he's like, bye, Richard. See ya. I
don't think the bye, Richard part is fair. You've been partners with me in surf and sales for 7 or 8 years. Okay.
All right.
But then Richard does have ideas, but I just execute.
Very well. And then the last one kind of goes back to the first one, which is, and I've kind of been teasing Scott this year about it, is you just have to be a narcissist. You just have to be like completely into yourself, because the best narcissists know how to get things out of people without doing much. But he does find ways to return it. He's different. He's very different than a traditional narcissist, because he actually does turn around and care about people. But
that actually means doesn't that actually mean I'm not the narcissist, Richard?
No, because no. As you said, I've been partnering with you for 5 years, and I've known you for 15. No.
Oh boy.
Anyway, that's how you become Scott Leese.
All that being said, Patrick, you might want to rethink your career and life goals. Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think like you have kind of broken out of the gravity of having to, go do sales for another company. Like you've become you're like the Joe Rogan of sales in a certain way.
But where did you learn that, Scott? Who told you for 3 years to go fucking do this? And you didn't have the balls or the courage to do it.
I will admit that is true. For multiple years, Richard was saying to me, why do you keep working for other people? You should go do this thing on your own. And I was scared, and like I said, I wanted to wait until my income was kind of lined up and whatnot. And it worked out. So I appreciate that, man. Super flattering. Richard, thanks for roasting me. I expect nothing less. Patrick, what's the best place for people to reach out to you if they want to learn more about what you're up to?
The irony of it is that LinkedIn probably is the best place to find me.
That is the irony of it all. Patrick will reluctantly be there on LinkedIn.
I will.
Waiting for everybody who's got questions, comments about the podcast or what he's up to in his new role, or maybe someday soon, maybe he'll be hiring if you're looking for a role. So we appreciate you spending some time with us, Patrick. You're a good sport. Richard, thanks as always for hosting the show.
Good to see you.
Look forward to see you soon in Costa Rica, and we will see you all next time on the Surf and Sales podcast.
See you, everybody.